Hi, guys, it's Dean, and welcome to Dean's Den. Today, my special guest is Alex Russell, and he's going to talk to us about his company, how things are going, and he's also going to talk to us about his journey with the Detail Solutions podcast. Anyways, how are things?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. What's going on with your shop these days? How are things?
Slow, slow but steady.
Yeah.
So like typical detailers kind of complaining that it's slow, although, God forbid everybody on Facebook will not admit to it. But they admit to me that they're slow. It's just slow but I say steady because, for us, it's kind of gone back to like pre-COVID numbers. Um, so it stinks because the last couple of years have been pretty nice. Made more money than we ever have. Um, so yeah, to go back to kind of those pre-COVID numbers is a little bit of a downer. But the beauty of it with me is I have very low overhead, so you know I don't have to make a ton of money like some of these guys do. In fact, what most guys pay a month for their shop covers pretty much a majority of my, or if not all of my overhead. Um so I'm able to be a little bit slower than most, maybe not working as much, but I kind of enjoy that, or bring that on because I'd rather spend time, being able to get off in the mid afternoon and go pick Haley up from school, be able to take her to cheer, be home to spend time with Michelle, dinners and stuff like that. So yeah, so for me it's a little slow, but it's steady. So we're not doing too terrible.
How much do you like being able to schedule stuff yourself so you can schedule your own days off and book stuff when
Um
you want to do it?
I mean, I totally enjoy it. I mean, who wouldn't really,
It's a lot it's a lot of personal freedom that people don't understand unless they own their own business.
Right, it is. I mean, sometimes it's hard though because, as much as I do like, to be able to have my time and my days and things like that. But at the same time, I hate leaving money on the table. So there's a lot of times where you know, somebody wants something done and, I can't really get to it because I'm already booked. I don't have any employees with me that I could be like, oh, whatever. Like, I'll just, book two cars in one day. I work on one, have an employee work on one because it never really happens that way enough to justify having an employee. Like the employee would basically just be covering, I'd pay the employee basically what it would cost me to do those, extra details or whatever a week. So it would just be a
Yeah.
wash, right? Um so yeah, I mean, sometimes I hate leaving money on the table, sometimes people are like, "Oh, well, like I can only do it on the weekends." And if it's a weekend where we've got cheer stuff going on or we've got to do stuff around the house, things like that, then it's tough to turn it down. Most of the times, if we don't have something going on and it's um, a big enough ticket item, then I'll work the weekend because then I can take a couple of weeks off during the, or a couple of days off during the week and offset that or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very nice, sometimes a little frustrating though, I'd say.
I got to work on this 56 Chevy,
Uh-huh.
and it had a blower sticking out of it and it was all customized and stuff like that. That was like the coolest thing I've ever worked on. What's the coolest thing you've ever worked on?
So, I'd say the first Ferrari, right? Because
Yeah.
everybody is always, that's the first thing you want to do when you become a detailer, right? Is you want to do a Ferrari.
Yeah.
You want to do all the Ferraris, you want to do all the Lamborghinis, and then you realize that a majority of those car owners don't keep the cars long enough to want to spend the money on them, so they're not worth it anyways. Um, the other one I would say, is is so I have a client that has I think it's an '86 Porsche slant nose turbo, that I got to do. So, like that's the classic, '80s, poster car, that and the Lamborghini Countach, so
Yeah.
so it was nice to do like a poster car, from my childhood growing up, seeing those cars and being in awe of them. Um, and then another one that was really cool was I've got a client that he's a big Ford guy. Um, and so he has um, I think it's a '56 T-Bird, but it was a really cool car because I mean, first of all, it's a classic, but it was originally for his wife, and those cars back in the '50s weren't really, they were more air cooled, they
Yeah.
kind of, so it wasn't meant for modern day traffic and sitting stuck at red lights, especially
No.
here in the Florida heat. And so he said about the third time it overheated on her and left her stuck at a red light or traffic signal. She was done with it. Either told him to get rid of the car or fix it. So he took it to somebody and they did a full on resto mod to it. So they pulled out the original motor, they dropped in a Mustang 5 liter, gobs of horsepower,
Yeah.
upgraded the suspension, the brakes, all that fun stuff. So it's cool, I mean, like you see the car, and it's a classic, but but it's not, because it's got all the upgraded stuff to it and everything. So that was a real fun one to do too. Those are probably, I mean, I've done a lot of cool cars. I want to say, and I've had some really cool things kind of come through the shop, but those are three that kind of stand out in my mind as uh, memorable.
Okay. The biggest challenge I've ever had in my shop that I can think of was a '67 Mustang that I had to wet sand and polish.
Uh huh.
And this guy didn't want to miss any car shows. So this was a nightmare because it was bad. There were so many waves in the clear coat. I will get to my question for you.
Yeah.
So there were so many waves in the clear coat, and it had been painted multiple times and had some body filler in it. So when I went with my paint gauge, it's useless. It's not telling me anything. So
Right.
I had to go with 1500 until I could get the orange peel reduced, and then hope that I could wet sand it with 2000 and then polish it back. So what I did was I wet sanded it twice, polished it back just with a cutting compound. I let it sit 24 hours to make sure that the paint had all settled, and
Right.
any marks that were left I could see, so I knew where to remove the sanding marks. And
Yeah.
I'm working on it at night, so I don't have to charge this guy an uberous amount of money because I've got other cars during the day that I'm trying to get done, and I'm
Right.
working on his 4 hours a night, right? So this thing tied me up for 3 weeks. It was awesome. It got me, a nice video and everything out of it, but what a hell of a lot of work. What's the biggest challenge you've ever had in your shop?
Um, there's two that kind of come to mind. Um, so one of them that just had me wanting to put my head through a concrete wall every day I was working on it was a black Shelby Raptor when they first came out. So this would have probably been like 2018-ish, maybe 2017. Um, and it just was, it was a brand new car, but it was coming from Shelby, not really from, or Shelby to Ford kind of deal. Um, and it was just marred up really bad. Um, and it was like no matter what I threw at it, I just couldn't get it right, especially being black. Like black's just the one. It's got to be 100%. You can't. Well, it's got metallic in it, so we can hide it a little bit, or it's a white. Won't see every little thing. You can get away with some stuff, and I just couldn't get it to finish down as properly as I wanted to. And yeah, I mean, it was like one of those days, like, or one of those weeks where, every day I felt defeated because it was like, man, it's like, it looks okay, but it doesn't look great. So I think what I ended up doing on that was it was kind of like a cut down, and then a polish. So it was kind of more of a three-step detail than your traditional two-step with a cut and polish. Um, Finally got it to where, everything started clicking, and then it was kind of good to go. Um, got it all coded. Customer was blown away, super happy. Um, so that one was kind of a real challenge because, I was just expecting I had already done other Raptors, I just hadn't done a Shelby Raptor, so I didn't, it's like big deal. I mean, it's not like anything different on the body. Um, so that one I probably, was one of those ones that should have been charged more. And especially in those days because of the fact that I wasn't really doing, like w- coding prices of these days. I was still very new at it. I was still kind of one of those guys that was, I think, only charging like, around a grand or $1,200 for a coding job. So that one definitely probably, should have been more. The other one that was very challenging and, kind of more just on the technical side of it because I feel I quoted it right, feel that I got all the money with it right and everything like that was I had a client come to me with a Mercedes-Benz AMG, like the SU, not the G wagon, but I think they're like the GLEs now or something. That he tried to ceramic coat himself, and apparently he didn't watch any videos. Um, he just thought, I guess it was like wax. So, he just glob it on in this section and, almost like he was putting on like a wax, right? So he'd glob it on and try to spread it around like you would do with a wax. So by the time he finally brought it to me, it was 6 months cured. And when he put it on, he did not level it down. So you talk about, we talk about high spots. These were mountains, kind of comparatively. And it was so bad because it would be so thick in one spot and you'd move over like 2 inches and there'd be like nothing really there. Right. Um, he had put it on so heavy on the doors that there were runs. Okay. And then again, we're talking leaving it on for 6 months. Um, so I told the guy, I said, listen, I said it probably needs to be wet sanded, but I'm not comfortable enough wet sanding it. I said, I don't know, you know, how much it's going to take the wet sand to get it off. And then, these, you never know with the paint thickness on these cars now. And how could I get a, good paint measure with all this, globbed on coating all over it? So I told the guy, I said, look, I think I did a test spot. I said, "Let me do a test spot." Did a test spot with a Rupes blue wool pad, um, and some Meguiar's 101, and was able to cut an area down. I said, "Look," I said, "I can do this." I said, "But it's not going to be cheap." And he's like, "Well, what's not cheap?" And I said, "Well, do you want to go sit down in my chair real quick for a minute?" And he's like, "That bad, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah." So he goes, "Hang on." He goes and sits down in the chair, and I'm like, "Look, man, it's gonna run you about 6K." And he was like, "Oh," and I was like, and I'll be honest with you, dude, like, I don't know how perfect I'll get it. I said, because I'm gonna have to put a lot of heat to cut this, and I don't want to burn through the paint. I said, so, what I'll have to do is I'll have to cycle it out, do an area. When it gets too hot, I'll have to move to another area, to let the first area cool down. And then when the second area gets too hot, move back to the first area, and kind of have to do it that way. And I said, and in some of these areas where it's so thick, I said, I don't know. And he's like, well, he's like, I need to get it done. And he goes, you're the first person that's, been able to at least, tell me anything about it. So let's do it. And he said, when can you do it? And I said, well, that's the other part. I said, this is something that I don't know how long it's going to take me. It might take me 4 days. It could take me 2 weeks. I said, I don't know. And he goes, well, I'm leaving next week to go on a cruise for 2 weeks. Could you fit me in then so you could just have it for 2 weeks? And I said, yeah, actually I can. Um, so I said, I just need a deposit, you know, um, you know, just I think I said something like $1,500. Just because it's a big job, I'm blocking off 2 weeks for you, right? Like I need at least $1,500. So he goes, listen, can I pay you half of it now? Because he goes, then that way when I pick it up, I won't feel like I'm paying such a big amount by breaking it up into twos. And I was like, even better. Yeah. Yeah. So that one was a real challenge because, it was probably, I'd say, a good maybe 5 days of actual labor work on it. But I spread it out over the 2 weeks because, like most detailers, I wasn't smart enough to put a mask on. And, when you're cutting with McGuire's, anything, right? But especially 101, it gets super dusty. And then all you can smell is compound and look like, Tony Montana, You know? so, so like I kind of broke it down to like, 3 to 5 hour days, just depending on, um, how bad it was or how much I was working it. I went through, God, I don't even remember how many Rupes pads I went through on this thing because I mean, I was just burning those wool pads out. And that's the one thing I will say, I know a lot of people have issues with the Rupes like wool and microfibers, but I've had really good luck with them like, rebounding after you let them cool back down. And so what I would do is I would just, burn the crap out of it, and peel it off, grab a fresh one, burn the crap out of it, and I would let them cool, so that I could come back and recycle them. So I want to say I probably went through like 10 or 12 pads on that car. Um, which some people might think like that's not enough. But I was able to cycle them to where they could, cool down, firm back up, and then I could, reuse them. um, so yeah, that one was challenging just because of the circumstances, and thank God it was a white, pearl white, because there were certain, especially on the doors where the run lines were, the solvents had actually etched into the clear because it was so thick. And when you look at it in the shop light, you could, the right angles, you could see them, but you pull it out in the sun and the thing looked immaculate, looked awesome. Um so so yeah, he was really happy with it when he came back from his cruise. I had it all polished down, recoated, looking good. I was able to show him, the couple of areas that, hey, look, this is in the paint, there's nothing I can do about it. Next time, don't coat your car yourself, and especially don't leave it sitting on for 6 months before you do something about it.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
guys you guys have been everywhere with the podcast in the last while. So
trying.
I you know what? The journey you guys have taken is fantastic. Like
Thank you.
what's the coolest thing that's happened with the podcast for you guys so far?
So, I mean, the ability to travel this year was super cool. I mean, I got a huge shout out to all our ad sponsors for stepping it up this year and being able to give us the money. So Autofiber, Ian's so awesome over there. We've got Enzo North America. They make some great car washing products and aftercare products for coatings and stuff like that. Then we've got Detailer's Roadmap. Chris and his whole gang is wonderful. They've made my podcast for my shop, and I love it. I get a lot of compliments on it. And then we have, let's see, that's Detailer's Roadmap. Oh, Car Supplies Warehouse. Those guys have been really cool. And then the fact that, I mean, like, they carry everything, right? So, like, that's one of the things I say. Like, if you can't find something at Car Supplies Warehouse, and use our discount, like, you're crazy. O'Burke, Davey P over at O'Burke, he's my guy. He's such a big help, and a mentor. And then we've got Rennie Doyle's Detailing for Success, which was kind of an interesting one because he doesn't really advertise anywhere or very many places. I mean, he's Rennie Doyle. He kind of doesn't need to, right? So, like that was kind of an honor that that they asked to come on and sponsor with us this year. And then Viper Chair. Viper
Yeah, I,
Chairs.
I actually got to try that at in
Yeah,
Chicago.
yeah. And how
That's
was
an
it?
awesome
It's an
chair.
awesome
That's
chair, right?
awesome.
Listen, that's the
Yeah,
thing. Like, so many people are like, "Oh, it's $600. I'm not spending that on a chair." But,
man.
like, man, you sit in that thing for a day and you get up and your back doesn't hurt and
Oh
your
yeah.
ass isn't flat as a pancake
Well,
from sitting in those Amazon chairs, like that. Listen,
yeah. I got four herniated discs, and I sat in that chair, man. And it's like you're sitting in the hand of God. It's
yeah,
nice. The
yeah,
last time I sat in something that nice was an office chair at Somerset Mall in the States,
uh-huh.
and it was $1,000 friggin' chair.
Jeez.
But that's nice, man.
Yeah.
The way they made that chair, it's so nice.
It's
And
and I mean, like, I don't wanna knock on any, but it's American made, in Wisconsin. I mean,
hey,
it's
you guys earned
sturdy.
it. You guys
Right,
earned it, man.
it's
That's a
sturdy, it's
damn
not
good
gonna,
chair.
you're not gonna, like, roll around the shop and hit a pebble and, like, go flying
No,
off the
that's
chair
one of the
because
things too. Alan was showing me the chair, and he says, "Hey, take it." He says,
yeah.
"Try this." So I rolled along the floor, and oh man, it goes right over the carpet and everything. It doesn't
Yeah,
snag.
and
It
it's
doesn't
it's
jump.
funny that you say that with Alan is because, I mean, our advertisement is Alan when we had him on the podcast at MTE talking about it because
Yeah,
he had never tried it because, I mean, it's not over there in the UK and Scotland or whatever, so at MTE earlier this year, he
yeah,
got in one of the ones that we had, um, at the podcast, table, and, like, he took it for a spin, like, he went all around MTE with it, and he was, like, talking about how easy it was to push over the carpet,
yeah,
and then, they've got all the cables and everything for the booths, and then they've got, like, those plastic, covers over them so you don't trip over them, but it, like, rolled so smooth over those,
yeah.
and,
You can
he
tell
was.
there's a lot of engineering that went into that stool.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's great.
So yeah, I mean, we've been very, very, very fortunate with our ad sponsors, to be able to give us the money that we needed this year to do some traveling. Um, so, kind of back to your question as far as, like, you know, what was the standout or whatever. I mean, I have to say it was Air Force One with Rennie Doyle,
Yeah,
and not that, any of the other ones weren't standouts. I mean, going to Chicago and, first time in Chicago, first time having deep dish pizza, flicking the bean, meeting all the content creators and everything, getting to meet yourself because you drove down. Um, it was a great event, but the Rennie Doyle, the Air Force One, that's the one that I tell people, like, I get it now. I get why the detailers that are in the mafia want to be a part of that. Because a lot of people, I mean, myself included in the beginning when I didn't know any better, a lot of detailers are, always like, oh, the mafia this, the mafia that, with when it comes to Air Force One. You get there and it's just, you're in awe of these great machines, from
yeah,
history. I mean, it's a Boeing museum, so most of them are, Boeing stuff. But, you've got some of the B-19, that flew in World War II, the B-29, I think it was. You've got, the serial number one. of the Boeing 727, the 747, the all these things. I mean, they have, the first ones. They have the Concorde there. You never realize how, I mean, the Concorde's huge. Like, it never looks that big when you see it in, video or something,
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't do it justice. It's a
No,
massive
and then
machine.
Air Force One, the original Air Force One. So yeah, I mean, that one was just kind of a more, in awe, because you're around all these great machines. They're part of history. And the fact that Rennie and the guys and girls in the mafia take, their time, donate their time to, go there and preserve these machines so that, you know, the kids of tomorrow will be able to still see these things, right? And they're not just rusted out, and they're looking at them on video or books or whatever. They can actually go and see them, touch them. You know, some cases you can go in some of the airplanes and kind of see how they were set up. Um,
Do they have tours of Air Force One? Can you actually go inside of it?
so they don't do a tour, but yes, you can go in. They have a
Wow.
stairway that goes up into the main entrance, and then or the front entrance, and then the stairway that you come out the back entrance. So you go in, and you walk down the little path, because everything, obviously, because of historical, it's all like plexiglass closed off, so you can't touch any of the
Yeah.
seats, you can't touch any of the machines, or whatever. And so you go through, and it says, like, this is this area, and this is that area, and this is where the press does, and this is where you could go in. And they had phones set up, I guess, where the press could call back into whatever. And um so yeah, I mean, that was pretty amazing. But to us, it was such an honor, because not everybody gets to go to that. First of all, it's a museum that is operating. I mean, there are people there walking around, doing tours and things like that. But secondly, it becomes a job site when those guys and gals are there, because they're working on these planes. So it's not like you can just invite, Rennie can't invite everybody to, like, let's just do a big old industry hangout, right? Because
Yeah, because he's
work
responsible for everybody that's there.
right, right.
Yeah.
I mean, he has to cover the insurance for that and everything. So usually it's the people that are invited to that, or the mafia members who submit an application and get picked, and then the sponsors get to go out there. So us being invited as not mafia members and not sponsors was a huge honor. And we had such a blast, and it was so cool to, like, watch everybody work on and everything, and see how it's done. I mean, Rennie is reserve military, and he does everything he does kind of like the military. And I mean, it's like that whole event is, everybody has a job, everybody has a purpose, they're part of a team. This team does this team does that. I mean, one day it might be there's a team of people just, blowing out pads, washing pads and cleaning pads and stuff like that. So it's so organized, and everybody has a good time with it. I mean, it's not a, cracking the whip, kind of deal. It's, everybody knows what they have to do and how much they have to do that day. um but they have fun with it. So that one was probably the standout travel for this year, just because of what it was.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to see you guys posting pictures, standing
Yeah,
on Air Force One and stuff. That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Did you
that
guys
was
get to work on it a bit or?
so Jason did. I
Okay.
didn't,
Okay.
because Jason wanted to, but the initiation was, the guys got to take their dirty, aluminum polished hands and rub it all over your face.
Yeah.
I didn't wanna clean that off my face, so I was like, "I'm good." But yeah, Jason went, and Jason did some aluminum polishing for probably, like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes or so, to say that he got to do it. Um, So yeah, I don't know. Maybe we were invited to go back in next year. So maybe next year. I told Jason, we do go back because we kind of did a quick trip. I mean, it was, I think we flew up there. We flew up there Wednesday, so we were there for Wednesday evening for the banquet dinner.
Oh,
Then we were
yeah, you're
there all
probably exhausted.
yeah, we were there all day
Yeah.
Thursday to podcast, and then we our flight was early morning Friday. So I told Jason, I said, if we go next year, maybe we'll stay an extra day or so. That maybe we could do a little sightseeing in Seattle because Joe Kimball picked us up from the airport, and as he was flying past this cemetery, he goes, "Oh yeah, that's where Jimi Hendrix is buried." And I was like, "Wait, what?" Like it'd be cool to go back and see Jimi Hendrix's grave and do some of the Seattle things, and and maybe spend a little bit extra time and do some work or something. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, Jason did do some work. I didn't. I was too pretty boy to get messy.
Oh, yeah, maybe well, next time, right?
Yeah, next time,
Yeah.
maybe.
It's a one in a lifetime thing. Like, I mean,
Yeah, that's
how many
that's what
people
Ja
can say they worked on Air
yeah,
Force
and
One?
that's what Jason said,
Yeah.
and then, like, after we were home, I was like, "Oh, shit, I guess you're kinda right, like, I probably
Oh,
should've,"
it was
so
probably a huge kicker for him too, because being in the military and
yeah,
that,
yeah.
he probably was just on cloud 9 the
Oh,
whole
yeah,
time.
absolutely. Yeah.
Uh, that's
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
What do you guys have going on next year?
So, it's up in the air right now, we're trying to figure some things out, obviously MTE because that's, backyard, that's hop, skip, and a jump for us. SEMA will do next year for sure. Like I said, we've been invited back for the Air Force One project, so more than likely we'll do that. I don't see us turning that down. Um, so Jason, with the content creator event, has um, somewhat invited us. It's not a hard invite, but pretty much we'll probably go back to Chicago for a content creator event too. I know he did say he was trying to either add some more people or maybe do some different people, but he did mention that he would like to have both me and Jason come for the next one.
That would be great.
Yeah, so that one, like I said, it's an invite right now, but it hasn't been an official, so we'll have to wait for that to come official. It doesn't look like STC is going to happen kind of after this year. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see. Um, but Jason and I were talking about like maybe we try to do something different since STC wasn't such a big show. I mean, we had a blast with it. We got some pretty good content and everything. But our thought was I've been wanting to go out to Idaho, Boise, and tour the rag company because I mean they've got like a whole like
Yeah,
campus now. I mean it's not just one little building. I mean they've got like a whole you know compound out there. So I had mentioned that to Jason and talking, and he said, well, why don't we try to do TR SEMA? So I'd reached out to Levi and asked him, the possibilities of maybe doing TR SEMA, and he acted like, yeah, they would welcome us to come out there. So that's kind of on the table. I talked with Jason Rose about maybe going out to Colorado and doing a Rupes tour, tour of the factory, and then doing some podcasting. He actually kind of really liked that idea. He even suggested that if we do end up making it out there, that he could set it up where we do a live video call with the plant in Milan and then the plant down in Houston, so we could have all three of the Rupes plants on the line and talk to different people from different parts of the world with it. So that's another one on the table. I've talked with Chris to see maybe if we could go out to Big Bear and kind of do something with Rennie's training or whatever. Um, so we've got to kind of figure it out. Chris doesn't think us coming out to a training would be very good. not for any real major reason other than he said Rennie's kind of like a squirrel and we might be a distraction for him, you know. So he says he's got to kind of, keep Rennie in line when they do the trainings, and then even if we're sitting off in the corner, kind of, just taking notes or podcasting or whatever, it would be distracting. So he said he's going to try and see if he can find something else that they do out there that maybe that we could come to and kind of, be part of the facility and do podcasts out there. Um, so those three are kind of on the table to maybe take the place of
Yeah.
SDC, or depending on maybe do two out of the three, or if we get enough money thrown our way, do all three, on top of the creator event, on top of SEMA, on top of MTE. And then the other one is maybe Chris Rakana with Dr. Beasley's um, mentioned to me they're doing something at Dr. Beasley's in Chicago sometime next year. They're going to do some kind of event, and he mentioned about the possibility of maybe us coming up to that and podcasting during the event and being there for it and everything. So Chicago might be a two-timer for me next year, or for us next year,
Oh, that'd
depending
be
on.
cool because it
Yeah,
ain't far for me to come visit.
yeah. Yeah, so that's next year. So we'll just have to see. My plan is when I go to SEMA, we've been very fortunate with our ad partners for the past 2 years now that they've come to us. Like, right, we haven't had to go, shaking our cup,
Yeah.
begging for money.
Yeah.
They've come to us, and we've been very fortunate with that. But knowing now that next year's budget could be a lot bigger to be able to do these things and then still run the show with, paying for the website, paying for the streaming and equipment and, yada, yada, yada. My goal is to, go to SEMA and try to maybe see if there's any interest from some other companies, if they would be willing to sponsor the podcast. And maybe what we do is, instead of like this year we had a small group of sponsors sponsor the whole year, we do a bigger group of sponsors, but we do smaller time runs for them, so then we can increase our budget without breaking everybody's bank, and we just have, a lot more same advertising spots on the show, but we just break them up, whether it's quarterly or monthly or whatever. And then two, that'll maybe give us a little bit of variety in the advertising, because right now I feel like, it's the same ones. We've been very fortunate for the last, year and a half, some of them 2 years, that I think, maybe, some of the listeners get a little tired of hearing the same, advertisements over and over.
Well, you know what? When you guys get out to these other events, like if you guys get to SEMA, you don't be surprised if some of the people from those booths come out to see you, just like what happened at MTE.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hopefully,
You
you
know?
know, SEMA's going to be a little bit different. I had originally, Jason was going to go with me originally, but because he's being a nerd and going to college and whatnot, he can't miss too many more days, so he
Yeah.
can't come with me. But originally we were going to kind of do like we did at MTE, where we, kind of just go booth to booth, to some of our sponsors and some other, friends that we have there, and set up, the whole deal, mixer, microphones, cameras, and all that stuff. But now that it's just going to be me, I don't want to have to lug all that stuff around myself. So I just recently purchased some wireless mics. So I'm going to, be able to walk around on the fly. I can keep a mic on me. I can go live on Facebook. I can go on Restream. If I run into somebody walking down the aisle, I can hand them the second mic. We can have a conversation, record it real quick. it'll also make it a lot easier for me going in and out of booths, because we've had so many people that, want us to come by their booth and spend some time. And, I know a lot of people are going to be debuting, new things. I know when we talk with Chris Metcalf from Flex, he told us that Flex is going to have some new stuff. So, I'll be able to go into the booth and put a mic on him and, have him do a demonstration for us and record it. I'm sure Rupez is going to have something new. Jason Rose always, whenever I ask him, he's always like, I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
Yeah,
So we
that's where
just
they showcase a lot of their new stuff is at SEMA.
exactly. So,
Oh,
it'll be nice because I'll be able to just bounce from booth to booth to booth and record, a little, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. And then I'll be able to just piece it together into, like I do at MTE or STC, I could piece it together into, one full episode or split it up over a couple of episodes or something like that. So,
yeah, I was surprised when I went to SEMA in 19. I was amazed at the stuff. It was like we won't see that in Canada for 5, 6 years.
I know that always blows me
You know,
away that everybody says that we get stuff 2 or 3 or 4 years before you guys get it.
yeah.
It's
Well, you
so
know what?
weird. I mean, you guys could smuggle that shit across the border, right? Like, like how hard is it
Yeah,
to get
we're
it
we're
in there?
chomping at the bit. It's like living next to the pizza place and you can't order a pizza.
Right.
It's
It's
bullshit.
so it's so I mean, like I get it, like,
Yeah.
Europe or
You know what it is? It's hard for us to get products in here. When like Europe has the first taste of a lot of crazy stuff that comes out because if it's developed in Europe, it's so easy because
right.
shipping is nothing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But for
exactly.
Australia, you guys, and then us, it's tough. Just getting stuff from the US into Canada now is difficult because
Yeah,
it's
that's
very
crazy.
expensive
Yeah.
for shipping and customs. Like our Canadian customs made a new pact with Mexico and you guys. So now there's a lot more paperwork involved too.
Oh, okay.
So for us
Are
to
there
get new products, they have to be
right.
allowed through the border and everything else too.
Are there just not a lot of, like, distributors up there carrying some of these things too to make it more difficult, or is it just more difficult to even get it to the distributors to be able to sell it?
Auto Obsessed is like they're like our I don't know
Like
how to
Auto
put it.
Geek or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're our big one
Yeah.
here. And like unless you have $1 million warehouse in Canada, and there's only like 33 million people here. So unless you have like $1 million warehouse, you can't afford to bring all this stuff in
Gotcha.
and sell it because like the bigger you are, the bigger discount you get, right?
Right.
So you can actually afford the shipping to bring this stuff in. Like when I was bringing in a $10,000 skid, okay, to sell online, it was costing me at the time just to ship it here.
Oh, wow.
And that's not including my customs payments
Yeah.
plus to pay well you got to because you got to pay for somebody like just generic clear it is the
Yeah.
name of the company I use for customs, but you got to pay them, you got to pay your taxes on it, then you have to collect here, we got to collect HST when we sell it and then give that to the tax man, then we got to claim that whatever we make on that, we got to pay taxes on that. So at
Yeah.
the end of the day, unless you're a multi-million dollar corporation, it's not worth it to bring stuff in here because it's going to cost you an arm and a leg unless you're bringing it for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and
But
you can just afford to do it. Yeah,
yeah,
that's crazy. That always amazes me how that that, uh that's like that?
it is. Like I can buy if I go to Chicago and and they've got stuff there, I can buy it and bring it back, just pay the duty on it. I have it right away.
Right.
But if not, I gotta wait for it to come into Canada. Unless I order it, like if I order it online, I can get it.
Yeah.
But to see it here in our stores and stuff, it's not here. It's
Wow.
weird. It takes like there's a delay, eh? You guys are the Jetsons, we're the Flintstones.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's just a little behind. It's getting better though. Before like
Right.
we when like 30 years ago, all we had over here was Turtle Wax, McGuire's, and Mothers. That was
Okay.
pretty much it.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything else. So, I mean, now that they have all these different brands, we have Chemical Guys over here now. It's all over
Yeah.
Canada. Um, we have access to a lot of stuff. Sonex, we have access to. We have access to a lot of good companies now,
Okay.
and I think a lot of that has to do with Canadian companies going down to SEMA and going down to these other shows,
Right.
finding out about these products, and then
And
say,
then
"Hey,
bringing it back.
wow, and bring it
Yeah.
back."
Yeah.
It's helped a lot. Alex, how did you guys deal with the weather this year? Because you guys were getting hammered, and up here in Canada, like it's like we were living in Florida for 3 months. Like it was weird because I'm sitting in my pool and it's nice, it's beautiful here, eh? And the we got like 75, 80 degrees here every day. It's just beautiful. And
Yeah.
we're not used to that. Like the snowman melted and
Yeah.
the igloo melted, like it was great for us, but man, I was looking at the numbers you guys got, and it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was I was never a believer in global warming, I think, until the last couple of years.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, all right. I mean, because it's always been hot, and I don't know. I mean, my wife had kind of brought up like how hot it had been, and I think with like everything else, I mean, it comes in cycles, right? Because I remember a few years back where it was like ungodly hot, like it was this summer, and I think as we get older, it becomes a little more unbearable, I guess. And I guess there's a reason why the snowbirds all go home during the summertime, right? Like they go back
Yeah.
up north
Oh
because
yeah.
they're too old. It's too hot down here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of places in the U.S. that had triple digits, numbers. I don't know that we had too many days that were triple digit. I mean, 99, maybe 100, but we had, heat index, the feels like, kind of, being triple digit plus, and I always say, like, what do you mean feels like? No, it doesn't feel like it. That is the temperature.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a lot of 113, 115, degree Fahrenheit days with the feels like, kind of deal. And then it's Florida. So then you add on, 75 to 85, 88% humidity,
Yeah.
and then it's just, a lot of people are like, well, what's it like, in Florida when it's like that, and it's like, the two things you tell people is like, turn your oven on to 450 degrees and then just open it and stick your face in front of it and
Oh
try to
yeah.
breathe, right? Or, the other one is go take a shower and don't dry off, just put your clothes back on because it's
Well,
like that.
yeah. When you
You know?
step in a puddle with socks on,
Yeah,
same
yeah,
thing,
that's
but
pretty
it's
much what
all
it.
over.
Yeah, take a wet towel and try to breathe through a wet towel, like,
Oh man.
so yeah, I mean, it was pretty brutal. I mean, this was I'm not gonna say it's the first time, because every year I'm kind of like, okay, I need to get AC in the shop by next year. I need to get AC in the shop by next year. Um, and sometimes I kind of question, like, okay, do I need to get a real job? Is this gonna, like I can't be, next year
Yeah.
I can't be doing this. But this was the first time, or the first year that I think I really, for a brief second, really considered like, maybe it's time for me to hang the polisher up and go get a real
Real
job,
job.
quote
Yeah.
unquote. And I'm not saying that what I do isn't a real job, or what we do isn't a real job, right? But like, you know,
It seems like
and
it because it's too much fun.
right, right. In most people's terms, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously they just think that we're car washers, right? And they don't consider that a real job. They don't understand that we're making six figures plus a year, doing this, fake job or whatever. But no, it was the first time that I was like, man, maybe, I'm getting old. I need to go get a job where, I could be in the AC or whatever. But, I'm quickly snapped back to reality when, since 1995, I've pretty much been doing this, pretty consistently between car washing, detailing at the car wash, running the car washes, and now being on my own as a detail shop. There's been a few times that I, would leave the car wash and go try something else and kind of quickly come back to it. And, the one thing that I've realized is, there's nothing beats, no matter how bad the job is, no matter how frustrating or confusing the paint is, no matter how hot it is or how wet it is, raining or anything like that, and in your case, maybe how cold it is,
Yeah.
nothing beats being able to walk around, have that exercise, walking, it's funny how many miles you could walk circles around a car in a day, right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
polishing it, you get home and I look at my steps and I'm like 6,000 steps in the shop just walking around circles in a car one day.
Yeah.
But nothing beats being able to do that, fresh air, sunshine, not being stuck in a cubicle, sitting down all day, underneath fluorescent lights,
Yeah.
and that's what quickly snaps me back to, no, kind of no matter how bad it gets, like, this is me and detailing are ride and die bitches until the end. So
Oh, you know what? The worst day ever working for yourself beats the best day ever get working for somebody else.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
you can't beat that. Like when somebody's crazy enough to pay you to do something you love to do anyway,
Yeah,
that's the best.
yeah.
That's the best.
And
Like,
and and and, sometimes when you're surprised that they're actually gonna pay you the money that
yeah.
I mean, because
Well,
I still look at it and go like, if I didn't do this and I went to somebody and they were like, "Yeah, man, it's gonna be, 2,500 bucks to detail your car." I'd be like, "You are out of your mind. I'm going to the car wash," you
well,
know?
yeah, like I charge like down here our prices are a little different, but
Uh-huh.
I've charged people $1,750 to ceramic coat, like do a
Yeah,
one step and ceramic coat their
right.
pickup truck. And like they have no problem with it. They're like, "Oh, that's a good price." And the money comes out.
Yeah,
I tell my dad this. My dad fell out of his chair. Like he couldn't
yeah,
believe it. He's like, honest to God, he goes, when you started, I told you, who the hell's gonna pay you to wash your car? Like,
yeah,
are you crazy? Like, you're
yeah.
not gonna make money doing that. And here I am making a living out of it.
I had a doctor tell me one time that he was in the wrong business when I told him my prices. And I said, "Well," I said, "Not really though, because,
Yeah.
like, you get that more, on a steady basis, mine's a little up and down with the way that I get it." But he was like, "Man, you're 100 and something dollars an hour? That's ridiculous. I need to change position,
Uh,
change professions."
the other thing is too, Alex, they don't realize either. Like, we probably have some of the biggest triceps there is.
Yeah, yeah,
If Mr. Universe was just all about the tricep, we'd all be
exactly.
out there flexing it with our beer
Yeah.
belly,
Yeah.
flexing
We've
it.
we've we've all been
flexing it.
we've all been kicked we've all been kicked by that horse, as
Oh
one of my
man,
friends used to say.
like
Eh
my tricep used to burn, like when I was done waxing cars and stuff, because using that damn muscle all the time, eh?
oh, yeah.
And it'd be on fire, like it's like
Yeah.
somebody hit me with a hot poker, eh?
Yeah,
And
I used to have a buddy that used to walk around and he'd be like, "Man," he's like, "the damn horse got out, kicked me last night." You're like, "What?" And he'd be like, "Boom," and he's got
oh yeah, oh yeah. It just hurts like hell. Like, they don't
Yeah.
get it, but after, like, you do it so many years, after a
Yeah.
couple thousand cars, you
Yeah.
don't feel it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah,
But try
exactly.
getting to that point, buddy, like, it's a long haul. Yeah, this year for us, with the like, in this area,
Uh-huh.
with the fires that we had way up north,
Uh-huh.
the smoke actually screwed us up, and it buggered up our weather. So
Okay.
we didn't have, like, in June, we were living in Florida. Before that, we were living in Seattle, Washington, where it rains every day.
Right.
We had so much friggin' rain, it's totally screwed up my season. Like, we didn't have steady cars in here until June.
Yeah.
So, uh, I ended up becoming like right now, I'm a squirrel that didn't save enough nuts in his cash, eh? So,
Yep.
I was screwed up, eh? So now to get through the winter, I've got nothing put away. So what I did was I reached out to one of my customers who owns a machine shop, and I asked him. I said, look, I said, I really need a job. I said, because I I don't know what I'm going to do this winter. I got no money coming in.
Yeah.
He says, I'm not hiring. He said, but I know somebody. And I ended up getting a job from his friend working in a really nice tool shop. And there's 7 guys in there, and it's 7 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon. Like this,
Oh,
people would
nice.
kill for this job,
Yeah.
and it's days with weekends off. And
Yeah.
they've been trying to find somebody for the last 6 months,
Wow.
and everyone they get, they last a week. They can't take them. They got to get rid of them. And they don't know how to use the machine. They're afraid of the machine. They don't know how to square blocks. They don't know. And this is all stuff I got taught 35 years ago, first day on the job when I was working
Right.
at a mold shop. And I never thought I would do that again, right? But
Yeah.
I know how to do it, but I didn't realize I was stupid. I didn't realize how much of an asset that was, eh?
Right. Yeah.
Like anything we do in our lifetime gets us to this point today, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I got really lucky, but my point is, like, we're so fortunate being detailers because we get to meet a vast number of people in a vast bunch of backgrounds. And if we're in trouble, we can always reach out to, customers that we know and the
Oh,
friends we have in the
absolutely.
detailing community.
Absolutely.
Not
I
too many
al
people can say that.
Yeah, I always try to, if it's a client that has come back to me multiple times and I build that relationship with, I always try to, subtly try to ask them, what they do, or whatever. I mean, they could just be a cog in the wheel,
Yeah.
or, they could be, the guy. And, like I had a client, in fact, it's the guy with the slant nose turbo. He brought me that car. He brought me his Ferrari. He brought me his, Maserati. And, so after a while, I was kind of like, hey, just curious, what do you do for a living, and come to find out, like, him and his business partner own like 16 restaurants here in Central Florida area, and it's not like a chain restaurant, but you kind of, I mean, there's 16 of them here, so you could kind of say it's a chain restaurant. I mean, it's set up kind of like a chain restaurant or whatever, but so you never know. I mean, I've got clients that are lawyers, clients that
It's
are
always good to
doctors.
have.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, I one of my good clients, he's a lawyer, and I asked him, I've been taking care of his cars for probably going on 4 years or so now. And kind of back in the beginning, I asked him, I was like, what kind of law do you do? Just curious. And he's like, oh, criminal lawyer. And I said, oh, so when my wife, puts a swig of drink back in the refrigerator instead of making fresh, and I finally snap and kill her, he's like, oh yeah, I'll absolutely get you off. You know?
Oh, man.
So yeah, it's always interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
you never know, and then you never know where they'll be able to help you out, in a jam or in a bind or whatever. I mean, heck, I've even been able to get two of my clients together because one of my clients needed a thing, one of my clients had a thing, or had a service or whatever, and I was like, hey, this guy, he's
Yeah,
he's one
I've
of my
done
clients.
that. I've done that too. A lot of my stuff I get done around my house
Yeah,
is done by my customers
yeah,
because, I got an HVAC guy, I got a plumbing guy, I got this and that,
yeah,
and it's nice.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, like,
It's always good to have that in your Rolodex.
well, that's why, you know what, it's nice because we have our own detailing phone book. We
Yeah,
have we have
yeah,
our own little book with people we can rely on and people that we can trust.
yeah,
And it's our customers, the detailing community, our good friends that we made over the years. But it's great, and that's why I push so much for people to get out there to the groups and get involved, because man, you've got so much help out there, and like if you're finding yourself in a spot this year where it's tough, like in Canada and the northern states, this is going to be a rough ride. If you guys don't have any money and you're listening to this, uh, whatever you got to do to make it through the
Yeah.
winter season, do it, man. Like, there's no shame in asking for help, or grabbing a job if you have to, or doing shifting gears for the
Yeah.
winter time or whatever, even if
You
it's
guys
part
supposed
time or whatever.
Are you guys supposed to have a bad winter this year, or
It's going to be real bad.
is it?
They're calling for bags of snow. Like, it's gonna,
Mm.
you know, like, I'll be getting out the second floor window of the house.
Oh, wow.
It's gonna be
I'll
bad.
I'll
No,
tell you
but
what I'll
they're
tell you
saying,
what, Monday, it got down to 65 here, and man, I did not wanna go outside too much, you know?
uh, snow is a bitch, eh? Because, like, here, what happens is, if we get too much at one time, the highways are all shut down, everything's screwed
Yeah,
up, eh?
yeah,
And northern Michigan and, like, all the northern states,
yeah,
they get pounded sometimes too. Like, there's an old Colt commercial, eh, and they show a Chicago winter. We were in Chicago. We're further north than that,
yeah,
So,
yeah,
like, here's the thing, like, with the economy and this bad weather coming, it's going to be a rough ride for a lot
yeah,
of people. So, man, don't be, don't be, don't be proud, and don't say, oh, I'm not going to get a job. I'll just tough it out.
yeah.
No, just if you need a job or something to steady your income, just do it. Doesn't hurt.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's kinda why, um that's kinda why I took the position with Aquatech, you know? I mean, it was kind of a no-brainer. It was a way for me to make a little bit extra income, and right now any extra income is good income,
Oh yeah.
you know? And then, I mean, I don't really make money off of the podcast, I mean, the podcast just kind of
Not
pays for.
yet.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah,
Eventually.
hopefully one day, yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
for right now, the podcast kind of just, pays for itself and stays self-sufficient, or, self-surviving, and, because that kind of is a job, in itself a little bit, with, doing 2 shows a week. Sometimes, I wish I would go back and tell myself, "Hey, don't do 2 shows a week, just split it up, do 2 Q&As a week and then 2 what's on your minds a week or whatever." And I've had some people that, told me like, "Well, you could always just do that." And I'm kinda like, "Nah, not now," because people are used to those episodes coming out,
Yeah, and you've
you
got the
know.
backing too. You got the sponsors, and you got a
Right.
responsibility now.
Exactly,
So,
exactly. I mean, the
yeah.
2 shows a week, I feel like, really kills the analytics,
Yeah.
because by the time one show starts growing, then you throw another one in there and it just brings your numbers back down, which, is kind of a
Yeah.
bummer. So I try to look at, overall what the show has done, and how many downloads it's had, and, how many episodes and things like that. I try to look at it as an overall picture versus, as a show to show, because, it's kind of like a fighter, finally gaining some steam, and then he gets knocked back down and he gets back up and he finally gets some
Yeah.
steam, so yeah, I mean, look, I try to, wherever I could take on extra income, I've tried to do it, with everything that's going on now too. So, just find that other job if you need to,
See,
see if you can find one in the industry if you're uh got enough experience and enough networking or whatever. From what I've heard, there's a lot of people in the industry that are hiring. So,
yep.
yeah,
So, yeah, you don't have to ride the winter out alone. You can go and work with somebody, or,
exactly.
there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, make friends with local detailers too, because you never know when they might, be a little busier and they need some help. I've got a couple of buddies that have done that. They paid me to come to their shops and, knock a car out for them or something, if I don't have any work going on. So, that's also another way of doing it. I saw One of my buddies today was a little bit overloaded with work, and he put a message out on Facebook to any detailers that were in his area. He was guaranteeing $100 for the day, if not more, just to come out and just prep some cars for him. So,
Yeah, like down here, in I think it was in July, I was swamped. I was swamped. I couldn't take any more cars. And then my friend Andrew, his shop was
yeah,
quiet. But then in June, he was swamped. He couldn't, he was sending cars over here.
right.
He
Yeah,
couldn't handle it.
yeah,
And I said to him, I said, you guys must be packed over there. He goes, no. He goes, it's quiet. He goes, we're getting one a day every day.
yeah,
It's good. We're steady, but we're not busy.
right.
And then, then if it was crazy for us, but now like I didn't make enough in July to say, oh, I'm good for the next 5 months,
Yeah, yeah,
and you and I will both answer to a higher power because we're married.
yeah.
Well, if the money ain't there,
Exactly.
we hear about it, right? And
Right.
I get it because like my wife has never done anything to do with business, right? And it's scary for her because she goes in every day and there's a paycheck.
Yeah.
So now I told her, well, I said, you want cash for life. I got the job. Because for her, it's cash for life. She don't have
Yeah.
to go out and work. She
Right,
just
right.
sees a check go in the joint account. But
Yeah.
she's just gonna pay our bills with it. She's
Yeah.
responsible, so I don't have to worry. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a huge burden off of my ass and off of her because like now I can sleep at night knowing the bills are gonna be paid and
Yeah.
whatever I make in the shop, man, that's icing on the cake.
Right, right, exactly.
That's
Yeah.
renovating my house. That's, whatever other stuff I want to get done in my life that isn't needed, but I'd like to do it. Go on vacation, buy a new car eventually, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's the one thing where I feel a little blessed is, my overhead is so low with where my shop is and our bills and things like that you know, I can get away with doing a lot less than a lot of other people can. Um and still probably make as much as they make, take home.
Yeah.
Um because my overhead's so low, and Michelle's kind of the same way. I mean, because she does the books. I mean, that's what she does for her job. She's a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
And so sometimes she freaks out a little bit, that it's the money's not coming in, this and that.
Yeah.
But really, as long as I always look at it and go, well, like, look, all we have to make is to cover the bills,
Yeah.
right? If I don't make anything for a month, it's not end of the world, because we can live off of her income. Not that she makes a ton, but
Yeah.
like, it's we live very within our means. We have a lot of our debt cleared. There's not a lot of debt that we do have. So we could, live off of hers if we had to, as long as we keep the shop bills paid. But realistically, thankfully, by the skin of our teeth, kind of, in a way, we always clear what the shop needs to make and then make enough, for, whatever she needs to pull for the house, for the
Yeah.
bills, for that type of stuff, Haley's cheer and things like that. Um, because again, like, I really don't need to make the money that a lot of other people do, and I can still live very comfortably.
Well, that's
So
the thing too. You don't have the pressure to try and make it in 7 months either. Because
right.
in
Yeah, yeah,
Florida,
that's
you
true.
guys
Yeah.
are open all year.
Yep.
Well, the other thing too is people watch us and say, "Oh, Alex, me." The thing is, though, if you guys are watching this, okay, you you and I are established. I mean, with our customers,
Right. Right.
they know us, and
Yeah,
we've already validated our worth, and they pay us good
exactly.
money.
Yeah.
And in your case, they pay you all year long. Like you're there all
Yeah.
year long.
Yeah.
You work, so you got to keep this in mind. Like if you're in the north, you know,
Yeah.
winter's coming. If you're down in Florida or California or Texas, this isn't the same conversation, you know.
Yeah. No,
But
no. I mean, because even when it rains here, it's funny. Like I don't really get cancellations when it rains, except well, I had two today, but it was one of my coding clients that was going to bring me his cars for his monthly maintenance wash.
okay,
Right. So I mean, kind of no point in coming when it's going to rain, right? So he just rescheduled till next week, which is fine with me. It's not like the money's going to be there, whether I made it today
yeah,
or whether I make it next week. The money's there, right?
yeah,
Um, but for the most part, like, if somebody schedules a coding job and we're going through a monsoon down here or whatever, like to me it doesn't matter. I mean, I just pull the door
yeah.
shut, I work on it, like it doesn't affect the work or anything like that.
You
So
might
yeah.
not want to drive it home during that, but yeah,
Yeah, it's fun. It's funny. One time I had a client who brought me his daughter's car to get ceramic coated because I had done his car and he was kind of such a big fan of it. They had got his daughter a car, so he wanted to get hers done. And so I held it for the extra day for curing and everything like that. And they were supposed to come pick it up that day, but it was raining. And so I called him and I said, "Hey, look, like, do you want to push it till tomorrow? Because it's not supposed to rain tomorrow. And I'd really like for you to see it, without raining." And he goes, "Man," he goes, unfortunately, we got to get it tonight." And he goes, "The car's gonna be driven in the rain at some point, so why not today?"
yeah,
I was like, "Well,
yeah.
I mean, okay." So, it sucked to watch his daughter pull it out of the shop and it just getting like, you know, dumped on. I
Oh
mean, other than
yeah.
the fact, of watching it beat up and everything, but, you know, it's their car, not mine. So I can't,
Oh
I
yeah.
can't, I can't tell them no. So,
Yeah, because I like down here, I work on a lot of classic cars,
uh,
and if the clouds are dark outside, they call me and they don't want to bring it
yeah,
that day. But yeah,
yeah,
I get it because the thing has never seen rain. I get
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I mean, like some of the cars I work on, like even though they're old cars, they're worth about 80 to 100 grand. Like
Hmm.
because to replace that car, you can't. It's priceless.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 hours for a 1 hour podcast.
I owe you one.
It's all good, man. I enjoy talking to you anyway, so it's always
Yeah.
fun to do these. For me, it's always it's always interesting to be kind of on the other side of the mic, in a sense, because I'm not worried about, okay, it's time. We've got to do a commercial. Like, what's the next question? What am I gonna, like, I just get to sit back and be the one that just answers the question. So no,
Well,
it's
you know what? If you and Jason go to Chicago again,
yeah,
try and book an extra day or something,
hmm,
and we'll go out to dinner. We'll go grab dinner.
yeah, yeah. We'll try
I'll
that.
buy the first round.
Yeah, yeah, because
Oh,
Saturday when we went to the city, did you not were
I
you
cou-
not still around?
I couldn't. I was in the hotel.
Oh, okay.
It was crazy because you guys all got took out on tours, right? So
Well, we were supposed to. It didn't end up being that way. Because there was too many people, and so Jason was kind of like, go wherever.
he was
S-
overwhelmed, eh?
A little bit. So what
Yeah,
ended up happening was Pan and a majority of the YouTubers, because they wanted to hang out with Pan, and Pan wanted to go to this like crazy Greek restaurant that like he had been like super recommended. Like, if you're going to Chicago, you got to go to this Greek restaurant, and
yeah.
obviously he's Greek. Um,
I can't blame him there because my family, same thing.
okay, so like
Yeah,
him and a majority of the YouTubers went there.
yeah,
And what was supposed to happen was we were all supposed to go downtown Chicago, and then kind of we could do whatever we want, and then there would be somebody to bring us back. We would just like go down there at whatever time and somebody would bring us back around 11 or whatever.
yeah.
So there was a group of us that still wanted to go downtown. So it was me, It was Carlos Serrano, um, and the two guys from Stoner Chemicals. It was us four, and then Eric took us down there. So there was a car event the next day downtown. So we get there, or no, on the way there, Eric goes, "Who's not drinking?" And so because I don't drink, I'm the only person that raised my hand. And Eric goes, "Okay, because I'm staying the night in Chicago. You're in charge of getting everybody back to
Yeah.
the hotel." I've never driven in any traffic like Chicago, right? I mean, Orlando I-4 traffic
Oh
is kind
yeah.
kind of bad, but it's not Chicago,
No, you know
right? Like
what?
it's
I forgot about that because I've been to Florida
yeah.
and I've been to Vegas
Uh-huh.
and I've been to Toronto. And Toronto is a watered down version of New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've seen
No,
stupid traffic.
yeah, nothing I've
Yeah.
ever driven in is like metropolitan Chicago, right?
Yeah, I
And on
drove
top of that, we were like
yeah.
40 minutes away from the hotel.
Yeah, it's
So,
a little scary.
yeah, and and it was a big ass Chevy Suburban, it's not my little sports car,
Yeah.
so yeah, so we went down there, we met up with Dave Patterson and a couple other people, and we went and had deep dish pizza, and we kind of walked Chicago a little bit, flicked the bean, um, and then yeah, and then I had the most anxiety filled car ride back home. It actually wasn't so bad. Once we got out of the city and got on the highway, then I was kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
this is like driving on I-4 back home. But
Well,
it was just in the city,
yeah.
right? Because there's like, there are like 6 lanes one way, and you're trying to like, oh, you got to turn up here, and I'm all the way on this side, and I got to make a right, so I got to start like slowly working my way across, the lanes of
It
traffic.
is the opening of the Bundys, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Like when you're
exactly.
married with children, you see the
Yep,
opening with the 6
yep,
lanes all together. That's
yep.
exactly what it's like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one was yeah, that was a little anxiety filled
Yeah,
fun ride.
my dad didn't wanna go into Chicago when we went, because,
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, I remember.
yeah, I got PTSD, right?
Okay.
I I let that out on the last podcast with Dan, eh?
Uh-huh.
We were talking, and, I can't drive in volatile situations like that. Like, I
Oh,
can't,
okay.
it's too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm driving by myself, I might be able to do it, but I can't if there's anybody else in the car. I'm so scared something's gonna happen to them.
Right, right.
I don't want to be in the car no more.
Yeah. No, I
So
got you.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. If
No, I
we
get
get
it, man.
yeah, if we get
Oh,
yeah, if we get the chance to, come back up there,
that'd be great, man.
yeah, I mean, we'll try and figure something out.
It'd
You
be a
know,
lot of fun, even if we split on a cab or some shit. It doesn't matter,
yeah. Yeah, it'd be a
you
good
know.
time. Yeah, because I know Jason will be excited to go.
Yeah, you know what? I want to give him a hug.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
he said to me, he goes, "I see you. I'm gonna hug you."
yeah, yeah.
Jason's great,
No, he's a
but
good guy.
it would be a lot of fun. I think we'd have a blast.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Because I'm up for
absolutely.
anything. We could go wherever the hell you guys want. I don't care.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm pretty. I mean, I'll admit, like going up there, I was like, oh man, like I'm not a baseball fan, but I was like, man, I want to go see Wrigley Field, go like Wrigleyville, I want to go flip
Yeah.
the bean, like, and I'm thinking like it's like downtown Orlando, like all that shit's like walking distance, right? And
No.
so I told Eric, I was like, I want to go flick the bean. He's like, all right, well, what is it? The not Illuminati's, but the other pizza place that we went to, the big one or whatever that's there. I can't remember the name of it now. Gardali's or something, I don't know, something like that. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, well, like I was like, well, how far is like Wrigleyville? Go up to Wrigley. He's like, oh man, it's like 5 miles that way. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, I'm not walking that. And
Have you
then
been to Vegas before?
I went to SEMA in 19, And then my
But you
first
and I
trip,
were both there at the same time.
we were.
Yeah.
That was before I was anybody though, so I was just
We didn't know
and
each other at that point.
no, and I went for a car wash convention back in
Yeah.
I think like '07,
Yeah,
07,
because I was
08.
gonna say I don't know if you've been there on Thursday, like on Friday and Saturday night, but
No.
I'll tell you, my wife and I were there on the Thursday night, and we were leaving on the Friday,
Uh-huh.
and it was packed. Like you couldn't even walk on the sidewalk because there were so
Yeah.
many people on the sidewalk. And to get like if you end up going to see him again and you decide, oh, I'm gonna watch a fight on Saturday or whatever,
Yeah.
you'd actually be really good to change hotels and be in the hotel where the event is at
Yeah.
because to try and get there, it's
Yeah,
almost
it's impossible.
impossible.
Yeah. No, I leave I leave here Monday the 30th in the morning. So I get to Vegas like I think like around 11 o'clock
Okay.
AM. Um and then I'll be there all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday, and then half a day Thursday. Well, a majority of the day Thursday, but my flight my flight leaves at 4:45 to come home, and then I get home like 12 a.m. Friday morning. So I'll go to SEMA Thursday. What I'm gonna try to do is, like maybe take my because I'll just have a carry-on in a backpack. So that way I can kind of hang out at SEMA until the last minute, and then catch an Uber over to the airport because the airport's only like a mile or two from the strip or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
not far.
Yeah, so and we just signed up for TSA pre-check, so hopefully I'll get my number before I leave. So then I won't have to really wait and the regular security lines. I can just go right into pre-check and not have to take my shoes off and all that stuff. Just throw my stuff through the scanner and then go.
Did you get to see anything else other than SEMA when you were in Vegas?
In 19, not really,
Okay.
because I went there, I didn't know any better.
Okay.
And I was going on a budget. So like I got out there Monday, like late afternoon, evening, and my buddy was living there at the time. So he picked me up from the airport and then he took me to this cool little burger joint. We had dinner together
Was
and
it the Heart
then
Attack Grill or no?
no, I it was somewhere like way off the strip.
Okay.
And and then he took me to the hotel, and then it was cool because like everybody was checking in, the hotel was crazy. So because he was playing a lot of poker at the time there in Vegas, he had like whatever the VIP card is for the the company that owns a lot of those hotels there. So he walks me right up to the check-in desk because he gets like VI to like the VIP check-in. He walks
Oh
me right
yeah.
up and he's like, "Hey," he's like, "Can I get you to check my buddy in?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." So like meanwhile, everybody's standing in line like 30 people deep, and my buddy like walks me right up to the front, right? And lady checks me in. So then I was there all day Tuesday, and then I was there part of the day Wednesday, and then flew back home Wednesday afternoon. So this year I'm doing, like I said, I'm doing the Monday through Thursday, so I can have a few more, an extra day. And to Friday's the day that they kind of let the public in. Um, and so it's usually not as good on Friday. So I was like, well, there's no sense in staying until Friday or Saturday, get
It's
back
gonna be
home.
a zoo. There's a couple little things you should look at. They have an M&M store,
Uh-huh.
Coca-Cola store.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I don't know if this interests you at all, but you like food, right?
Yeah.
New York, New York, downstairs in the
Uh-huh.
hotel has a miniature of New York City.
Okay.
Okay, and it's huge, but it's miniaturized
Right.
of New York. All the food down there is authentic.
Oh,
It's
nice.
all like it came right from New
From
York.
New
So
York.
you've got your Coney dogs, you've got your
Oh, cool.
deli sandwiches, you got your pizza, you got everything that New York has is
Y
down
Oh,
in that
nice.
hotel.
Nice, that's good to
So
know.
it's worth going there just for the food.
Yeah.
Uh, the Monte Carlo has an awesome breakfast.
Okay.
They have they make French toast, but
Uh-huh.
they put nothing's cheap there. But
Yeah,
I'm
no.
just saying,
No, tell
the
me about
French toast has cream cheese in it and pie filling.
Oh, wow.
Like you're getting
Jesus.
dessert for breakfast. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it
yeah.
just
Yeah.
amazing. Like,
No, my main things that I wanna try to, obviously then, kind of, other than the obvious is, um so one of the cool things is, um, Steve Persia invited me to the System X release party. I guess they've got a new product coming out,
okay,
and that's Monday afternoon, and that's gonna be out at Counts Customs. So that'll be kinda cool to go see that. Um, Tuesday night, we're doing Aquatech meet and greet at the beer garden, where we're going to try and get some of our installers and hopefully, new people that we talk to come out. Wednesday night is Rennie Doyle's party. So I'll go to that.
oh yeah.
But other than that and the shows, the only thing that I really kind of care to really see is to check out some of whatever I can get close enough to of the F1 track, that they're building there, to see the grandstands being built and the pit areas and stuff like that. And I got one of my clients was actually in Vegas a couple of weeks back, for his wife's birthday part or for his wife's birthday. They went out to Vegas and went somewhere else, and they've got a Formula One store there, with a car from last year inside the store. So I definitely want to try and make time for that. um, and then I'm a big Sammy Hagar Van Halen fan, so I'm going to stop by the Cabo Wabo Cantina restaurant that he has there, and at
If you
least
go to
one.
the hard, yeah, hit the Hard Rock too.
Yeah, yeah, I'll try to do that too.
I think they may still have Planet Hollywood there. They might still have one there.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard
If
of
they
it.
do,
Yeah,
you know what to do? You know what? Go on the Vegas site,
yeah,
check
yeah,
out what's going on,
yeah.
because when I was there, it wasn't in 19. It was before that. I went there. They had the Star Trek experience. I actually got to sit at Quark's bar and
Oh,
order a drink. And
nice.
there's Klingons walking around
Yeah,
and the Borg and
yeah,
like they got crazy shit on there all the time. So check out and see what's happening during SEMA. See what
yeah.
else is going on in the hotels. That was at the Hilton. The Hilton, like
Okay.
they all have
Yeah, they
different
all
little
have something.
shows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But there might be something really cool there that you don't want to miss. So
yeah,
just check it out, man.
yeah. So I'll have to see. So yeah, I mean, it'll be more of a working trip, but hopefully
Oh
I can
yeah.
hopefully I can try and get around and see what else is there. I
Well,
mean,
after 4 o'clock, what is there to do at SEMA, right?
pretty much nothing other than go home or go back to the hotel, maybe
Yeah.
catch a little nappy nap before you head to the next party event or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm hoping maybe next year or the following year, we'll be in a position where maybe we can just make a week of it. Michelle can come with me and we can actually do some stuff, um or maybe have her come out the Friday that SEMA closes, and then we just stay the weekend and do a couple of things, out there or whatever, just stay a couple extra days. So,
Yeah, you'd have a blast if you like.
oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
hard not to have fun in Vegas.
No, no, no. I mean, when I listen, I did my first trip to Vegas was done right. I mean, when I went in like '07 or '08 for the car wash convention, um, I mean, the owner of the car wash paid for everything. He's a millionaire, so like we didn't. It's not like we were eating McDonald's. I mean, we were going to like Delmonico's and having fillets. Like we wanted to go to It was back when the Rio was actually like, something. Now it's kind of a dead hotel, but
Yeah.
they had that rooftop bar, club. Um, we went there on a Saturday night, and there was, probably 100 people deep in line getting, try to get in. And, he goes up and slides the bouncer $50 and, lets us go up in the VIP elevator, right up into the club. We walked out of one of the hotels, or we walked out of the MGM where we were staying, and this was again, 2007, 2008, so it's pre-Uber. The cab line was like, 20 people deep, and he's like, "Fuck this, boys, come on." And we walked over to the limo guys, and he
Yeah.
rented a limo to take us, 2 blocks down the road to the next hotel we were going to, the next casino we were going to. Um, so I always tell people when I did SEMA the first time, when I did Vegas the first time, like, we did it right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he took us on a helicopter tour of the Grand Canyon, like where they actually land it and you have lunch, in the canyon. You fly over the Hoover Dam. Um, we went to the guy's not around, and he's not alive anymore. I forget his name, but he was like a fixture in Las Vegas. He did, like all these like impressions and like comedy and music and everything like that. He was like voted the number one, like, you know, Vegas attraction or whatever for like so many years and whatnot. So like we did that. Um, so yeah, I mean, my first trip to Vegas was done right. My
Yeah.
second trip to Vegas was done on a budget. My third one's gonna be somewhat on a budget, but I'll
Yeah.
a little bit more. But yeah,
Well,
it's
you'll
it's
have a good time.
oh yeah, absolutely. Because I'll be with my people.
Oh yeah.
I'll be with the people that I enjoy being around,
Yeah.
and that show me the love and make me feel good about everything again. So yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
can't make SEMA, I can't make MTE this year, especially now I just started another job, but
yeah.
I'm definitely if you guys are in Chicago,
Yeah, hopefully, like I said, I mean,
let
you
me know.
you'll be the first to know. I'll let
Alright.
you know as soon as I get that invite. I'll let you
Yeah.
know for sure.
And
Cause
then I'll ask Jason, why wasn't I invited? I'm
yeah,
just kidding.
yeah, 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 yeah.
No, I love Jason. When I first saw him,
Uh-huh.
I didn't know who he was because his beard was gone, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, because he shaved. Yeah, he cut
I'm
it
like,
down.
"Who is this young guy?" Like, people know
Yeah,
him. Like, why don't I know this guy? Like, I should know him. And
yeah,
then
yeah,
then I then, then Pan told me, says, "Go talk to Jason." I'm like, "Jason? That's Jason?
yeah, yeah,
Holy cow." He goes, "Yeah, I
yeah,
shaved his beard off." I'm like, "Oh my god." I didn't
yeah,
realize it was him, but
yeah,
yeah.
it was funny. So,
Uh, anyways,
all right, buddy.
it's
All right.
always a pleasure, man.
Yeah, no, no, I appreciate it. Like I said,
I can't thank you
any
enough.